Ooh, good morning. A slow start out of the house. It's June. I just looked at it actually too. June 14th. Okay, that's bothering me now. I gotta check my phone. Yeah, Friday. Holy crap. Sun's shining, she's beauty. Yesterday was complete crap. Rainy. Today I would like to spray some fungicide on my wheat that's headed. I'm gonna go take a look at it, but it's pretty freaking windy. Like really windy. I don't, even though it's a fungicide and it can't really kill other crops around, I still don't like our stuff moving off target. The tips I use on the sprayer, they really create quite a mist, because what you want to do is get fungicide kind of rolling in behind the boom and get a nice misty plume of it to get the heads covered. I'll take you out and show you the wheat field. But because of that, the particles are fairly small and they drift easy, and it's probably not ideal. We can get away with it in wind. This is probably the one time you can probably spray with a bit of wind, because you do want some good coverage. It still can't be like gale force, and I don't know if it's gale force wind, but it's pretty windy. So I think we'll hop in the truck. I'll take you over to see the wheat field that I'm talking about, and you can get an idea what we're up to. Just give you an update. That last video I uploaded, we were doing hay on the weekend, so that was kind of like Saturday, Sunday I was planting. I don't know what happened Monday, to be honest. My guess is it rained, because I don't feel like I did much. I think it did rain. Or did I spray? I don't remember. I'm losing my marbles. It's been a long pull. We had like 3 good days there, and then Sandy and I were both planting on Wednesday, I guess. I got Sandy set up to plant some soybeans. I was planting edible beans, planted some black turtle beans into some corn stalks that we strip tilled actually Christmas Eve day, the 24th of December. So we planted those in stale strips, so it worked out pretty good on half the farm. The other half, we ran the strip freshener through the corn stalks and planted that half on the freshened, or the made strips with the freshener. And actually it worked really well. So we got 70 acres of black beans planted and about 60-70 acres of soybeans planted on Wednesday. I got rained out at 3:30 in the morning. So I'm kind of a little bit out of it because I'm still suffering from that late night, but I'm just gonna pull in here and take a look at this wheat. I think it's probably starting to flower now. So this is one of our winter wheat fields here behind us. The stuff was planted early, so it actually is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with it. We grew some early day soybeans because we wanted to plant wheat, but as you can see, just about up to my waist, so it's not super tall. But the head size is really good on it, and it's hard to walk through, which is a good sign. Got these tram lines set up for doing the fungicide so we don't run over the wheat, hopefully. Even though it's been headed for a bit, I'm not seeing any florets coming out, or flowers or anthers or coming out of the wheat head. Usually you see some little things hanging out of the wheat head. Really anything hanging out of the kernels. Normally we would see like a yellow anther popping out that would pollinate the flower in here that would produce the wheat kernels, but I'm not seeing that yet, so that means that we quite haven't hit that point for a fungicide application. Tomorrow they're talking rain, so I'm trying to like get it as close as possible to the timing that we need, but at the same time I want to be able to get through the field. They're talking nicer winds on Sunday. I need 4 tanks to do the stuff that's early. So I'm kind of trying to judge this wheat to see if I can wait until Sunday. Some people say, or the chemical reps are saying that we got up to day 6, which is kind of would be about Sunday for me on this stuff, and still have good efficacy against the risk of Fusarium getting infected in the wheat heads. What we're trying to accomplish here is, by spraying a fungicide on this wheat head and when the flowers are emerged, is to limit the chance of Fusarium head blight to infect the wheat head. What that does is it basically causes an infection on the kernel and causes the kernel to shrivel, reducing yield and quality, but also having a greater risk for a toxin to develop in that kernel, where the kernel was, or on that kernel as well. What you end up seeing is like kind of a whitish pale kernel, or even pink kernels, which might have a lot greater risk of having that fungal infection. So by spraying the fungicide on the wheat while the heads are emerged and while they're flowering is their only way to combat that risk. It's not 100%, but it's a lot better than not spraying at all. So that's why we spray the fungicide at what they call T3 timing, and ever since we've done that, we've had a lot lower risk of having Fusarium head scab, or whatever they want to call it, on our wheat. So yeah, on this wheat head you can see some anthers there and there. So this was in a little bit more sheltered area back here with trees around it, and probably a little bit warmer, so it's further along. Just give you an update on some corn right across the road from where the wheat is. This is corn we planted. It'd be the second field I planted. I planted 38 acres on the home farm on the 17th of May. This was planted on the Sunday. It was on tail strips, so we strip tilled this ground. That was oats and peas we took for green feed in the fall. I strip tilled it, planted the corn in the sail strips this spring. It looks pretty good. Depending on what you go by, would that be 3 visible collars on that corn? So I guess people would call that maybe a V3. I don't know. I usually go by leaf, fully emerged leaf. So to me, this is 4-leaf corn. So this farm was wet when I planted it. There are spots where we struggled to close the trench behind it. I expected this to look a lot worse. Well, here's a good spot here. So those are the lug marks from the 2 tractor tires in between the rows there. Kind of see it there and there. That's the center, and then there and there. So it was chewing a little bit. The tractor was pulling a little harder, but because of the rain, it actually is hiding a lot of our planting sin. The planter was doing a good enough job that it closed, and the corn actually looks pretty good. Here's a good example of planting sin. You can see the corn in the rows, then all of a sudden there's a slot and a gap, and then corn again. So here is just mucked in corn. Here's a really good example. Like, that's just gnarly. Like something we never want to do. Look at that. Just smeared in. Just checking some of our first planted soybeans. They're just starting to knuckle through, it looks like. We no-till them. Like I said, 7.5-inch rows this year because we're trying to capture as much sunlight as possible. Here they are. right there. Another one there. Okay, this is a cornfield we planted the 8th of June. Basically, use the other strip freshener to make strips and soybean stubble here. They were probably a little tacky or a little damp when I made the strips. Not really ideal conditions, but it was last weekend, so we actually had a couple days where there was no rain, surprisingly, and we were able to let them dry out a little bit, which I think worked in my favor because they planted pretty nice. This is a good spot of dirt down here in the hollow. This farm, it's a tough farm. It needs tiled. We just haven't tiled it, but we'll take a look at see how the emergence, or how close from emergent it is. Right there. Kind of hard to see. So depending on the weather, probably 2 days from coming out of the ground. This is the first field, one of the first field of soybeans I planted where I think I had the vlog on it, but I had to drive around a wet spot. The wet spot is a result of a beaver dam that's holding back water, so I have to get it kind of ripped out. Well, these soybeans are starting to emerge as well. I think can't really pass judgment on them too much yet until we see a little bit more of them. We're gonna have some sprayer tracks that there might not be a lot of soybeans in. We sliced open some spots here too that aren't pretty, but the rain should help. Here's a good example. Like, sliced her open and squeezed her shut. Soybean down there. So not ideal. It's kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. But kind of like the corn, Mother Nature's been saving our butts on these bad planting conditions because it's been moist enough to keep it from drying out and making a real mess. So probably a week from now we'll have a better idea what these soybean populations look like, but I'm not too worried about what we got. I think it's going to be good enough for 2019 unless there's a real disaster in some spots. So that wraps up just kind of a quick update of the status of our crops in the field. And where things are at, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly. We don't have a lot of ugly yet. I think we'll leave that to Mother Nature. She's got to cooperate with us the rest of the year to make sure that we don't have too many of our planting sins show up. We got to focus on our wheat crop right now because it actually is one of the best looking wheat crops we've had in a number of years. We've been fortunate that way. So we got to get this fungicide application done for the T3 heading for that scab and minimize our risk. But with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.